Steph Curry baptized the Sacramento Kings with 50 points in a Game 7 as the Warriors eliminate them from the playoffs. He's not just a point guard or a shooting guard. He's the vanguard, leader of the new school. And let's talk about the ways. Exquisite ball handling, getting in and out of traffic, between the legs, behind the back. I always wondered what it would be like if a Harlem Globetrotter like Marcus Haynes or Curly Neal played in the league. He gives me those visuals. How about his layup package? Left, right, cinnamon rolls, i.e. George Gervin. Last but certainly not least, the greatest shooter that the game has seen. Unlimited range off the catch, unlimited range off the dribble, contested, wide open, dribble handoffs, relocations, down screens, it don't matter. Steph Curry was historic today. And shout to Kevon Looney, 3 games in this series with 20-plus rebounds. Warriors advance to play the Lakers. Stay tuned.
Are just not willing to do it. He understands how important that component is, not only for himself, but what that leads to for his team because of the amount of communication it takes to be able to guard him, to know where he is, to communicate the screens, and the attention he commands, how much easier it makes the game for everybody else. And we just never talk about how highly conditioned he is. I mean, a Game 7, first of all, the anxiety level is going to take your legs and your lungs alone. So to be able to play through that and then go, 20 for 38 from the field, 38 shots when the entire focus of the defense is on you and deliver a 50-point performance on the road. I just think we got to give this guy more credit for being such a highly motivated and highly conditioned athlete at this stage of his career.
100%. I don't think it's overstating it to say that 2 years ago today, Steph Curry was a first ballot Hall of Famer.
For sure.
Today, he's one of the 10 greatest players of all time. And I don't think that's overstating the impact of what the last 2 years have done. That said, as we continue to debate that, he goes on. And now we get it at least one more time in our lives, something that I don't think any of us, well, we certainly weren't assured we would ever see again after they met in the finals 4 straight years. We get Steph Curry versus LeBron James starting tomorrow. The Warriors have home court advantage. It's a 6-7 matchup, but it feels like Ali Frazier. Talk to me, Monica. Give me the thumbnail on the series.
Oh, all right. Immediate thumbnail. The Warriors continue to improve game by game in their series versus the Kings outside of Game 6, which we'll just call an outlier because they have bad spacing. I think this Warriors team, similar to the Lakers, is not the team that we saw over the course of the regular season. Gary Payton II, Andrew Wiggins have been huge contributions or additions back into this roster. They are playing with continuity. They are playing with tremendous experience and momentum coming into this series. On the other side, I said that Anthony Davis was the key to that Memphis Grizzlies series. I think the same sort of mentality could potentially apply, but across the board, the Lakers are going to have to rise to the challenge of defending this Warriors' potent offense. Now, as guardian privileged and talented as Steph Curry is, there is LeBron James on the other side, and I think his sheer will is going to make this series particularly interesting, but I just wonder about the collective experience if I had to find something to separate the two of these teams, and that advantage goes to the Warriors camp.
What's the biggest difference? Again, Steph and LeBron, the historical rivals, we could talk about that forever, Legs, but what is the biggest difference in this series as it begins tomorrow night?
I think for me, look, defensively, it's going to be an issue for the Lakers. There's no doubt, because I just don't think they've necessarily got the personnel on the perimeter to deal with what you have to with Golden State, off the basketball, where your head has to be on a swivel, and the amount of runs you have to stop, because it's one thing to go on a 10-0 run against Golden State. Like, at no point are they going to be fazed by any situation they find themselves in. You saw what happened with Memphis, particularly in that last game. Once things started to get a little bit sideways, they completely collapsed. That's not going to happen with the Warriors. No matter what their situation they find themselves in, you've got to continue to concentrate for 48 minutes defensively against them. Very few teams have the personnel, the scheme, the game plan to do that, and I don't necessarily think the Lakers do. Having said all of it, if Anthony Davis is the best player in this series, the Lakers have a legitimate shot to win it. So I agree with Monica. He is the key because he is that unique. He's got to be more consistent than he was in the last round to give the Lakers a shot.
That's such a good point. Let's bookmark that and come back to it later in this hour. Because for all the talk about LeBron and all the talk about Steph, the one whose legacy might actually be rewritten in the next 2 weeks is Anthony Davis if he carries the Lakers through this. We'll talk about it much more as we continue. In the meantime, it is time for your morning wake-up call. The best team in hockey history, the Boston Bruins, an overtime shocker. Totally different animal, right? You're going from the highest scoring team in the NBA, Sacramento. They want to run up and down the floor with you, to a Laker team that particularly, Monica, since these trades they made around the deadline, are now all of a sudden going to lock you down defensively. So how does everything change, in particular for Steph, as they go forward now into this matchup of LeBron versus Curry?
Well, I think in the last 2 victories that you saw for the Warriors, you saw them take advantage of the small ball lineup for the Sacramento Kings. Small ball, if the Lakers decide to go that way, means that AD maybe is your 5 or maybe Bron is your 5. So first of all, just the size component of this series is going to be very different. What I think every team in the league struggles to defend when it comes to the Warriors is their space and their pace, right? As much as we're talking about Steph finishing at the 3 different levels yesterday, there's the wrinkles in his change of speed, change of direction that are he's able to do that because of how much space that this particular team plays with. And so immediately, I think about guarding Steph. I think about Andrew Wiggins as he continues to get better in these playoff games. And then I think about Draymond Green's assignment in terms of probably bothering Anthony Davis to a degree, but also Kevon Looney, quite honestly, in terms of AD. So you can't, as much as we're talking about Steph, and Klay did not have a signature day shooting in Game 7, but Klay's still right there in terms of his ability to shoot the basketball and what we've seen over the course of the regular season. And so, Jared Vanderbilt, Austin Reeves, Rui Hachimura, like all of these role players that hang their hat on defense, well, congratulations, you are now privileged to guard one of the toughest offenses to guard in the league.
By the way,
it's not going to work.
It's the 6 versus
I don't know how
the 7.
it's going to work.
It's not
Have
gonna
I
work.
mentioned that the Warriors are the home court advantage because they're the 6 seed and the Lakers are the 7? Go ahead, Jay.
Well, I'm just saying, like, their continuity forces you to switch a lot of action, so you end up with being in a matchup nightmare.
Yeah.
I mean, that's always happened to Sacramento.
Like, explain that to me. The Lakers are in a matchup.
Well, think about
Warriors.
it. So there are times Steph will come up a ball screen, come here, come back, come up a ball screen, come here, come up. That, like, they move around so much. You have to communicate. You need to switch those actions. So you might end up with AD on Steph. You might end up with Rui Hachimura on Klay Thompson. And that's what they take advantage of. Like, so your ability to stay disciplined and stay at home is throw it out the window when you go against Golden State.
Your best bet, right? Obviously, you got to stay as connected as possible, right, Legs? But then I wonder if there's some room for the Lakers' physicality. But the bottom line is you have to stay attached to Steph, Klay, the whole bit. Like, even those guys cutting. Draymond obviously is a terrific passer. I still think Andrew Wiggins is getting better in this postseason.
Jay, I mean, because there's the other side of it, too. It's one thing to say you got to match them because the Warriors can space the floor. But the Lakers can play a power game that I'm not sure that Golden State has. And right, they've got Kevon Looney under the basket getting offensive rebounds. But outside of that, I mean, Draymond, who is it that is dealing with the power of not only Anthony Davis, but frankly, at this stage of his career, LeBron James, too?
Well, there's no doubt the Lakers have an advantage down low on the blocks. That's what they were able to do against Memphis. But the three-point shooting and the spacing and the pace negate that for Golden State. So, Greeny, if you come down, and Legs, you got this, Legs, like come down 2 possessions and you're slowing down the pace of the game, and you get 2 great possessions where you get maybe 2 offensive rebounds, you get a layup, all of a sudden they come down, boom, boom, 2 threes. You're like, well, wait a second, we just got 2 great possessions, but we're still down 6-4. That's what happens when you play against Golden State.
Legler, help me, because, I mean, the Warriors, look, both of these teams, frankly, have been so up and down all year long. There are multiple times that we wanted to write them both off, and now here they are in this situation. But how do you see it? Give us the X's and O's. Steph versus LeBron, Lakers versus Warriors.
This series is going to be decided on the Lakers' defensive end of the floor, and that's why I think the Warriors are going to win the series, because ultimately what they both are talking about is they're the only team in the league, the Golden State Warriors, where defending off-the-ball screens determines how you're going to be able to guard them and the success you're going to have, and that's why it's so difficult, because it's going to force mistakes. If your communications aren't super tight, almost flawless, you're going to get burned by the Golden State Warriors because they are going to make the right read that's going to lead to better action. There's just so much that's taking place that doesn't involve a ball screen. Like most of the NBA offenses now, it's high ball screen or it's an isolation for a player somewhere on the floor. Just not the case with this team. There are so many instances where two guys are coming together, and if you're not communicating it perfectly, they're going to make the right read every single time. And that's why I think this is a totally different animal for the Lakers than the last round, because you're talking about Ja Morant, okay, load up, keep him in front, high ball screen. Every now and then, Jaren Jackson Jr. in the post. That's about it. Everything is predicated off of those two things. That's just not the case with the Golden State Warriors, and that's why I think it's too tall a task for the Lakers defensively.
It's a step up, certainly, in maturity, right? They go from maybe the least mature team in the league in Memphis to the most mature team in the league in Golden State. We'll see. We'll have more on that as we go. I want to get quickly to the Knicks and the Heat yesterday.